So taking a little bit of a break from operational resilience, which is a topic that consumes the bulk of my time, one of the other topics that I'm looking at the moment is AI, and more specifically generative AI. And I got a thing in my inbox this morning that caught my eye because it really spoke to me, and it's from a speech by Mr. Tiff Macklem, who is the governor of the Central Bank of Canada. And he says this: how AI will affect the global economy and indeed humanity is on all our minds. It's easy to find enthusiasts who say AI will take us to a land of plenty, but it's also easy to find doomsayers who say we are headed for a bleak world with a few big winners and many more have-nots. Be wary of anyone who claims to know where AI will take us. There is too much uncertainty to be confident. We don't know how quickly AI will continue to advance, and we don't know the timing and extent of its economic and social impacts. But that doesn't mean we can't gain insights into what could happen. The past is still a useful starting point. The laws of economics still matter. People will still respond to incentives. So that really sort of resonated with me, because I'm intensely skeptical of anybody who conveys a feeling of, I know for sure. There's just too much uncertainty. And if anything, we need more people who are willing to navigate that zone of uncertainty, the unknown, it could work out, it might not, who knows. The truth is somewhere in between those two extremes. So for this to be useful, right, it can be very, very overwhelming, especially when there is so much of a push to go all in, or on the contrary, to be, very negative about AI. What I find useful is to be willing to suspend our disbelief in one direction or the other and to experiment. And it's relevant both at an individual level and at an enterprise level. So, for example, I felt for myself that if I'm going to have any kind of an opinion on this, I need to tinker around with the technology. I need to have a go. And what I found is that tinkering around with prompts is actually a whole lot more fun than I realized. And it's taught me a lot about human communication. To be good at prompting, you need to be good with words. You need to be good at clear thinking, because the technology is only going to do what you tell it. So if you don't give it context, and if you don't feed it rich language, it's going to come back with something very, very bland. So if you are good with words, and if you are good at conveying the depth of your thought and providing context, the tooling will come back with something that's super helpful. And the thing about generative AI is that it never gets tired of you asking questions. So you can just keep on feeding it, and it's never going to tell you to bugger off, right? It's never going to tell you, I've had enough. It just keeps on churning out responses. And that's really helpful, right? Because even the most helpful human at some stage is going to get fed up. AI doesn't get fed up. AI just keeps on serving. The other thing that I've realized is that to be able to usefully evaluate how powerful or appropriate it is in a given context, experiment with something where you have solid domain knowledge, something that you're good at, something where, you are able to look at something that an AI tool feeds back to you, and you can evaluate, yeah, okay, wow, that's surprisingly good, or no, no, that sounds really good, but it's actually just fluff. And you can only do that if it's a domain where you have a solid anchoring in what is good. You need to know what good looks like. So start with that. Start with something where you are already known to yourself and to others as being an expert in relative terms, right? And I think that's also transferable at the enterprise level. If you are known in your field to be good at something, start experimenting with that and see how far you can go. And you'll be able to test the limits of the technology. Where is it appropriate? Where does it fall short? Start with what you're good at venture out into more far afield domains later. But if you're trying to figure out where do you start at the beginning. Start where you're good.